Hey everybody, it's Rothbard's Disciple here. I'm bringing you guys another video on Bitcoin today, and this one's going to be a little bit shorter. I'm just going to be focusing on one topic, and that is privacy. I wanted to talk about privacy because I've seen some people within the Bitcoin community sort of talking about how privacy should, like, there should be no privacy or privacy coins. I actually, like, you could make the case for no altcoins just because you're a Bitcoin maximalist, but I actually think that you need privacy for Bitcoin itself, and if you look at that last point there, I think that Bitcoin should be illegal if there's no privacy to it. And we'll talk about that in a second. Before we get there, I do want to say that I think that the best course forward for privacy for Bitcoin is probably to just wait on adding privacy and add privacy later, because privacy protocols can be sort of dangerous. They're less secure than just the way Bitcoin's built right now. So let the altcoins that are doing the privacy protocols figure out the how to make them work perfectly, and then maybe adopt that. Or you can also just do atomic swaps with altcoins, and then have Bitcoin absorb the altcoins, and those altcoins just become sort of a side chain or whatever on Bitcoin somehow, like it just absorbs it. But anyways, the reason why I think that without privacy Bitcoin should be illegal is because Bitcoin's a distributed public ledger, so that's shared with everyone. And so when the end chain and stuff, they're talking about regulators, and they're saying like, hey, you got to give certain information to regulators. It's like, this is true, and you actually do want to give this information to regulators, but your greatest danger is not these government snoops. It's not the people who it's not the IRS. I mean, if you're really getting looked into by the IRS, I'm sure that's not fun. But that's not your real danger. It's you should like, I know I'm an anarchist, but you should really be paying your taxes. I'm just saying you should be. Good luck trying to get away with not doing it. But anyways, that's not your real danger, because to be honest, there are ways legally, if you form corporations and you start mining and different things like that, that you can lower your taxable income. And so there's some things that you can do if you just do the work, so that you can make the government be less of a burden on you. And I know, like, I wish we had lower taxes and all that stuff. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have lower taxes. I'm just saying your big issue with public ledgers, it's not the government coming in and looking at what you do, because to be honest, the government really doesn't give a shit. Like most of the stuff that you do, they really don't give a shit. There's too much stuff for them to look at. So for the most part, the pseudonymous nature of Bitcoin, like at scale, you've got enough privacy from government people that it doesn't really matter. It's only if someone really has interest in you that they'll put the resources in to be able to trace you, and it'll take a lot of resources. But the problem with this is that the public ledger is shared with everybody. It's not just that the government gets access to it, okay? Criminals get access to it, okay? A murderer can find you through chain analysis, A pedophile can stalk your children and figure things out through chain analysis to try and figure out, like if there's certain transactions linked to wallets that are linked to your family that go to, like, candy shops that are near the schools around the area you live. Like a pedophile could use blockchain analysis to do absolutely disgusting things. And so I know privacy scares a lot of people, but privacy it's like a gun. That's literally what privacy is. It's like a gun. It's dangerous, but it's necessary, and it's only necessary because guns exist. So why does the right to own guns, like, why is that a necessary right? Well, because other people have guns. So how do you stop somebody who has a gun? Well, you have to have a gun yourself, okay? So you can make, that's like when people make the claim that, hey, we shouldn't have so many guns. It's like, that's a stupid argument. The argument should be, hey, we should have less murders, right? So with privacy, it's not, hey, you shouldn't have privacy, it's, hey, you shouldn't do bad things with your privacy. Now, the one thing that I want to really stress here is that even with these privacy attributes of these coins, it's not like you can't get found, okay? So, like, let's say you're using something. I'm a big advocate of ZCoin, and ZCoin, if you actually look at it, it is one of the, like, I would say ZCoin's the most private blockchain, is the most private cryptocurrency. You can sort of make cases for Zcash or Monero that they can compete with ZCoin. It depends on how you use Monero and Zcash. But anyways, even with ZCoin or Monero or Zcash, you can still get found out by the government. Like, you can get found for whatever you're doing, laundering money, selling drugs, whatever you're doing, you can get found, okay? So it's more of a question whether the government wants to find you, all right? So you can always get found, and the way that you get found is because, like, obviously, like, let's say someone pays you a bunch of Monero. Everyone, like, that's the darknet's favorite cryptocurrency. So if someone pays you a bunch of Monero, if you just hold on to that Monero forever, you never get to use it, so it doesn't really matter. So the government doesn't care if you never use that Monero. They only will care, like, obviously, like, once you start taking money out, though, like, let's say you try and sell that Monero and you put money in the bank, it's like the government can figure that out. Like, let's say you try and purchase a house, like, just by paying them Monero straight up. Well, it's like, how do you can't really cover up purchasing a house. You live in a new house. Like, people are going to ask questions and people are going to know. You know, it's like, there's no way. It doesn't matter how private your blockchain is, there is no way for you to be completely anonymous using blockchains, okay? Obviously, there are ways that people will try to do it, and if you're doing things digitally, obviously there's a lot more ways for people digitally to do things without leaving traces, but, you know, when people talk about, oh, if there's privacy coins, you're going to be like, it's going to be complete anarchy. It's like, well, that's not necessarily true. And the other thing too is that, again, without privacy, how do you stop murderers or pedophiles or rapists or thieves? Not necessarily from, because it doesn't matter necessarily that they found your wallet address, but it's the things they learn from your wallet address and your wallet activity, okay? So like I said, if a pedophile is watching your family's wallet addresses, they can try and find different transactions that a child might make, and then try and find times when your child is isolated, okay? And so are you trying to tell me that, you know, let's say a 4-year-old boy or girl is supposed to have or understand OPSEC, you know, operational security? Like, you know, are they supposed to be, you know, trained like CIA agents to use Bitcoin? It's like, you know, no. No, not at all. You need privacy for these things. And it doesn't necessarily matter specifically how you do it. Like, you can do it just through having, you know, let's say you have a bank, because most people will still use banks. Most people will still have banks that store their Bitcoin. You know, banks already have privacy laws. So as long as you have a bank running, you know, your wallets and stuff, you can still get this privacy. But you absolutely need privacy for public ledgers. You cannot, you know, manage your own wallets and not have some easy to use privacy method. And especially if you have kids, like, don't do it, guys. Like, I'm seriously warning you guys, don't do it. Don't let your kids use Bitcoin or whatever unless they have some sort of way to make their purchases private. And the only reason, again, I say this is because anyone can trace the blockchain. Anyone. And again, it's not the government who's going to come after your kids. Okay, it's freakazoid, you know, criminals, murderers, thieves, whoever it is. You know, I don't want to talk about all the bad people in the world for too long. You know, but that's why you need privacy. And it's like I say right there in that second to last point right there, or not second to last point. Well, that is a good point too. The third to last and second to last points there. Privacy is like a gun. It's dangerous, but it's necessary, and that scares the state. But who gives a damn? Okay, it's not the purpose of the citizenry to do what the state wants. It's the purpose of the citizenry, or it's the purpose of the state to serve the citizenry. Okay, proper functioning state serves the citizenry. And obviously the citizenry, you know, they pay for the state. I believe in a voluntary state, so. You know, whatever. It's a lot different than what we have now, but it's who cares what the state thinks in terms of privacy? It's obviously like the state has their legitimate concerns where they're like, hey, we have to make sure that we have ways to trace people and, you know, trace criminals and go after bad guys, and so people need to have, you know, we need to be on top of that and help them with that, but there definitely are ways to do things like this, okay, with any sort of cryptocurrency, because you know, it's not the world is not digital. Even though we have parts of the digital world, the vast majority of the world is physical, okay, and so you can't hide yourself in the physical world. Digital world, you sort of can. You can. There's always tracks that you leave that lead somewhere to something, you know. But physical world, that's where they're gonna get you. But this. I really think if we push the idea that Bitcoin itself should never have privacy of any kind, that's a terrible idea. I think honestly the best idea is what, you know, Craig Wright said about Ethereum when he started tweeting out that Bitcoin can basically create its own Ethereum or like absorb Ethereum. I think that Bitcoin should do that for certain privacy coins. Again, my favorite privacy protocol is the ZeroCoin protocol, and ZCoin is the best you know, implementation of that so far. But you've also got, you know, Monero for Kryptonite or whatever. I like Monero original. I like the ASIC versions. I really like ASICs. I'm a big fan of them. I think they're best for newcomers into the mining space. But anyways, there's also, you know, the ZeroCash protocol with ZCash, and you can do all these things. And I think Bitcoin should just absorb them. But anyways, you know, if Bitcoin doesn't have privacy, you know, whether it's through atomic swaps or something in the base protocol or extension blocks that, you know, Omri Setchit had talked about before, I don't want to be a part of Bitcoin because that's absolutely dangerous. It's absolutely dangerous to share with the world your entire blockchain in your transaction history because, again, it's not the government that I'm worried about looking at all my transactions. It's motivated freaks in society, and those people exist, and we can't deny that reality. So I know this was a little less than happy talk, but you know, sometimes you got to talk about it. So there'll be better videos coming out in the future, but I do hope you learned something from this one.